Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as I'm very excited to have Sharkbot taking on Roro in a PvT between two very unique bots. I think that's how I'll sum them up. Roro is a Terran bot that's really unique in its own right. It's got some very lethal builds. It builds battle cruisers, it builds bio, and it will also build things like, oh, what am I forgetting here? Cyclones, that's what I'm forgetting, as who can forget Cyclones? So we have seen some evolutions of Roro in the past. Meanwhile, Sharkbot, a bot that recently returned to the ladder, is getting a little bit dirty in this game here, going for a proxy gateway and assimilator. Now, Sharkbot, yeah, it's going for double proxy gates, which really is the fashion. Proxy gates are all the rage at the minute in the StarCraft 2 bot games. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get 3 likes on this video for 3 gateways, that would be amazing. We'll see if Roro's going to be able to defend this crazy, aggressive cheese, but it's not going to be easy. As, yeah, just the gateway rush is very powerful when it's powered by the speed binding. You're able to make total use of all those gateways. Sharkbot probably could have afforded a 4th gateway. However, it built a pylon in Roro's base. It built an assimilator. The pylon is nice because it will block any potential wall on the high ground. Roro is attempting to build a bunker on the low ground, but that should probably be a high ground bunker. However, it's got no idea what's going on. It knows it's been proxied a little bit as this marine, or these marines, micro to death against this assimilator, but here comes the big threat. It's a zealot. The first zealot, though, does lock onto an SCV. This is buying so much critical time for Roro, and it's just an example of how little blips can cause huge issues in your bot. As Roro, I think, will actually get this bunker up. Whether it will get any marines into it is a totally different story, as it's got 3 of them shooting away at the bunker, but an SCV comes off the line to repair this. That will buy time. The other SCV kind of skedaddles, and then do we have the marines coming down? No, the marines are distracted by the pylon. This is so unfortunate here for Roro. The command center almost done, but will not be completed. Roro is pulling lots of SCVs to the front. Roro is related to Zozo, which has some of the best worker micro in the game, but now the marines are stuttered stepping into the zealots. Oh no, the humanity, as one bot derp gets outdone by another. And that just goes to show why micro isn't always as simple as just walking into your opponent's face, because we do see lots of very good aggressive bots out there, like that, just they always seem to be stepping forward with their army, but that doesn't work across all races, all matchups, and all dynamics, just because, yeah, stutter stepping marines into zealots is not a good idea. They went the complete opposite way. Now, behind this, Sharkbot has got a stalker following this up. It's saving up some money. I'm guessing that's going to be for, well, I was going to say a nexus, but the answer is just 2 more zealots and a stalker. As Roro, I think, is pretty much a dead nerd bot. I didn't even get a chance to do the full intro because this is such a cheesy game. But ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy these matches, leave a comment down below saying more bots. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 20 million subscribers by Christmas. And yeah, if you guys do want to play versus the bots, there's a link in the description. You can actually download a launcher, basically. You just got to download the maps too, and then you can play versus lots of the bots. This was organized by the ProBots team. Big shout out to them. Yeah, that is something very cool, and you can even send your replays of you playing versus the bots to me, and I'll probably cast them if you have some good games. I highly recommend it because it lets you learn how these bots kind of tick, and it's honestly just a totally different StarCraft experience. And it might be a challenging one depending on your skill level. So Roro's dead in this game. We're going to get into the second game. That's right, 2-parter video. Roro refuses to die, though, floating its command center. However, that's not going to happen. Sharkbot is a bot that was reactivated in a restricted mode on the ladder so that it didn't actually like have all its builds unlocked. The bot author for the new patch just kind of put it in a basic mode, I guess, but that actually does have macro transitions. And speaking of transitions, we have got a very high-level bot PvP coming up next. It's going to be Sharkbot again, taking on -0, the best bot, the best Protoss bot. That's definitely true by far. And yeah, it should be a very fun PvP between these two. Sharkbot is getting updates, to my knowledge, so that's nice to see. The author is working on getting their bot up to speed, making use of new things like energy recharge, which up until a few months ago was not in the bot games. It was battery overcharge for longer than the regular Starcraft 2 client. But now we have got the latest features and patch. Well, not the latest patch anymore, but a more up-to-date patch. And it's cool to see that bot authors are adapting to that challenge. We're not getting, like, bot authors are addressing the changes. And yeah, so nice to see Sharkbot getting some updates. The new season of ProBots will presumably be coming up soon, since we do have a ladder lock date announced, so bot authors might be having a little bit more motivation to fix a few bugs, that kind of thing, to make sure their bot makes it into the top 16 on the ladder. And yeah, we'll just see how well Sharkbot is going to do here against -0. -0 is no weak opponent, so Sharkbot is just playing it like a regular PvP, 2 gates, same for -0. PvP is a matchup that does require very specific strategy. For example, you generally do want 2 gateways. You kind of need to have this wall so you can block adepts getting into your base, because they just cause immense amounts of problems, particularly when you do look at the fact that the adepts can be controlled by bots, which will just shade around and harass you endlessly. -0 has phenomenal adept harassment. And now, as far as this game goes, we do have a tech differential already, as we've got a Stargate against a Robo. Sharkbot going for the Stargate, -0 going for the Robo. The Robo is a little bit cheaper. It's now Sharkbot, it's got a shield battery building at the top of its ramp. We can't actually see it. Who knows, maybe one day we'll get that graphical bug fixed. But as long as there's that solid wall for Sharkbot, it should be able to just be safe against these adepts. The adepts are actually passing each other, probably the better move for Sharkbot, because if it lets that battery complete, there is no way -0 is getting in with its own adepts, and we see it kind of trying, but you shall not pass. It eventually figures it out and tries to go up the actual ramp, but again, there's a solid wall. Adepts are slower than anything trying to kill buildings. -0, though, has got its own specific PvP programming to throw down that battery to prevent the adepts getting in. That's some very specific matchup programming that had to be done. Sharkbot, though, it's now got stalkers out to prevent -0 working away on this battery. However, behind this, we do have an oracle for Sharkbot that's had energy recharge utilized on it. -0 having to run its probes. Sharkbot activating that oracle pulsar beam gets 4 probe kills already. Really nicely done. However, -0 is able to pick up 2 of those adept kills in exchange, so that's not bad at all for the Protoss. Meanwhile, it's still pressuring with its own adepts. Sharkbot has now got to kill its battery so it can try to get out of its base. And we do have this Stargate going up against Robo production. There's already an Immortal out for -0. Phoenix can potentially lift up the Immortals, though I genuinely don't know if Sharkbot is programmed to do that or not, as the 2 adepts of -0 do complete their shade into the main base. Look at that. Incredible programming by Sharkbot to actually lift up one of those adepts with the Phoenix. It's just such a great thing to do, because we saw that Sharkbot, like, it had a Phoenix just chilling over the Adepts when they were outside the base. It didn't lift the Adept until it was inside the main base, where it would be worth it to do so. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the Oracle is still trying to harass -0, has got 2 batteries up, though, and plenty of Stalkers to shoo that Oracle away. Sharkbot is trying to get up an expansion. That's very risky to do, though, because -0 is of the mindset that, or at least -0's author is of the mindset that don't expand in PvP. You usually die. Unless you're the pro player Max Packs who can somehow make these miracle holds happen. But we'll see if Sharkbot can make a nice hold happen. The Immortal of -0 actually gets way too far forward. Phoenix lifts it up. Stalkers are not quite capitalizing on that as efficiently as they could be, so they let that fish get away. The Immortal able to escape. That's a big loss by Sharkbot. It didn't actually lose anything, but it lost the opportunity. Then it loses a Phoenix to the Stalkers of -0, as Sharkbot is on the defense right now. -0 has got those 2 Immortals. It's got plenty of Stalkers to shoot down the Phoenix as well, so Sharkbot really is outgunned here. It's got batteries building on the high ground, but it looks like it will probably lose that Nexus. Looks like we go Stalker for Stalker as -0 kind of gets aggressive for a second there. Will Sharkbot save the Nexus? I don't think so. It doesn't even cancel it. One of the Immortals does get lifted up. There's a Void Ray about to pop out, but the Nexus dies. That's incredibly painful for Sharkbot. It's now losing lots of its Stalkers. I think it's time to be retreating. However, the Void Ray does pop out, the Sentry moving out as well, and the Stalkers of -0 do need to kind of group up to target down that Void Ray. If the Void Ray dies, so I think Sharkbot will be in a lot of trouble here. It doesn't have another Void Ray building, and the Immortals, they just pop off Sharkbot's Stalkers so darn quickly. And look at this, -0 just keeps its units back as long as possible. We do have Prismatic Alignment on the Void Ray, though. That does allow the 2 Stalkers that got cornered in the side of the natural base there here on Persephone to actually get picked off, but then there's still the push on the front. However, now it's just 2 Stalkers as Sharkbot focuses down the Stalkers of -0. One of the Immortals does path into that pocket on Persephone. We see how those are kind of traps for the bots when it comes to microing their unit. Sharkbot is holding on, I think largely in part due to the threat of this Void Ray. -0 loses another Stalker. It's 3 Stalkers against 1 Void Ray. That is an interesting dynamic for sure, but you really need an answer to that Void Ray or you'll just be shot down over time. Sharkbot throws up a new expansion at the natural base. -0 does have its own Nexus done, though, already. That's incredibly painful for the blue Protoss bot to be behind this many workers, 6 workers. The Nexus isn't even done yet, so -0's in a great spot. We do have Sharkbot pushing out, using the Void Ray and getting very confident, perhaps overconfident. Revelation goes down too. I think that actually totally missed somehow. Has Sharkbot got any more harassment done? No, not really. And yeah, one of those Oracles did actually die amidst all that chaos. It rebuilt one of them. For now, though, we do have Sharkbot building more Void Rays. It's just using its 2 gateways as well to produce Stalkers. My concern is, though, that -0 is building towards these Blink Stalkers, which are going to give it incredible micro potential. Looks like the red Protoss is going to be building this Nexus at the 3rd base pretty soon. It's already long-distance mining, which I am a big fan of. We've got 35 workers to 40. Sharkbot's actually moving out and getting aggressive. -0, having one of its Immortals not grouped up with the main army, once again costs it that Immortal. Sharkbot then pops a couple of hallucinated Archons. One of them gets left behind, but the other is in pursuit, and they can actually buffer quite a bit of damage, as bots have a difficult time telling what is a hallucination. There's no info in the API to my knowledge. And so that actually means that the units will treat them literally like real units. And look at this, -0 actually kind of getting bullied into a corner. The Void Ray really making it afraid to take these engagements, even though it had better army supply and arguably a better army. Just, it's too afraid of the Void Ray. Sharkbot's retreating. There's a stasis ward on the ground there. We'll see if -0 walks into it. No, -0 is pretty good at avoiding things like that, so it's not going to pad into that stasis ward. Sharkbot does have 3 Void Rays, which is a very nice count. -0 just continuing on that ground army path, getting up +1. Blink is about to finish up. A second Robo is on the way, so it's not like things are looking bad for -0. It's just taken a few suboptimal fights. I mean, the red Protoss already has the 3rd done. Sharkbot is still playing catch-up by trying to get up its own. We have the Oracle getting blinked on and killed off. The Void Ray could very well share that same fate if it's not careful, and it's getting way too aggressive here for Sharkbot, so that's not great at all, as, yeah, Sharkbot now giving -0 a freebie. And this is honestly where I get concerned here for Sharkbot. It's one thing to survive the early game against -0. It's another thing to go toe-to-toe with it in the late game, where it's just got tons of units it can micro out on the map, because that's what it seems to do so well. We do have a fleet beacon on the way for Sharkbot. That does give me some hope for the blue Protoss bot. If it can get up some carriers, some Tempest maybe, that may force -0 to go into a suboptimal unit composition to try and deal with that. And yes, let's see what -0 is up to. It's getting up yet another Robo. This bot, oh, it must have actually canceled the one it was building earlier, unless I missed something. Oh, there was a Robo killed, pardon me. Oh, that must have been at the natural or something. My apologies for missing that one. Yeah, I don't know where that one actually died. But anyway, we do have -0 rebuilding that Robo, getting up a 4th base. Sharkbot, however, has got its first Tempest on the way. A second Stargate is building. +1 attack is on the way. And yeah, both bots are just chilling for now. As I say that, though, -0 is not a bot to chill for too long, so it starts to move out. It doesn't run into that stasis. No, it's still avoiding that. That thing seems to be lasting forever. And then we do have Sharkbot moving out on the map. It doesn't have Blink, and it's trying to skirmish with -0, so it would be much better off just sitting back at home and defending. However, its Stalkers are moving out to try and greet this. There is the 2 Void Rays in the air. There should be a Tempest out to help out soon, but you do not want to fight -0's army in the middle of the map. You will just be whittled down and killed. You want to hodl at your base. Now, there is that Tempest out, so -0, I believe, might have seen that there, so it could begin reacting to that. But, I mean, Tempest, you generally want Tempest of your own, maybe lots of Stalkers, that kind of thing. We do get a Stargate on the way for -0. And there is potential for Sharkbot to win this game in the late game. It is a bot that, it's the Protoss death ball bot. This is what Sharkbot does incredibly well. And it is getting up its own 4th base, so it's got a nice economy going. -0's, though, is on another level with 4 bases already done, mining at 80 probes. And we'll have to see how well Sharkbot splits its army, because the pathing here on Persephone can definitely be problematic as -0 does begin to move out. There's even some Adepts in its composition now, too, to shade around. I'm not sure what exactly they're going to achieve, but if they get a backstab, that would be ginormous for -0, as that could totally cause Sharkbot to crumple. The Adepts are shading all over the place. This is really bad news for Sharkbot. It's got Tempests, which are shooting away. Oracle's dropping Revelations to try and provide vision for those Tempests, but inside the main base of Sharkbot, there is lots of problems happening. A couple Stalkers were pulled back or warped in to try and deal with this, but this is where we see -0 do what -0 does best. It's just harassing all over the place with these Adepts. Those shades are getting tossed out whenever they're off cooldown. A Mothership comes in to try and help clean these up, and they do actually get shown the door, so not catastrophic damage by any means. Sharkbot is still down on supply compared to its opponent, though. -0 is expanding its economic lead, getting up its 5th base already. We are getting Tempest out of the red Protoss now as well, so -0 does understand that to beat Tempest, you generally want more Tempest than your opponent, or your opponent to make a mistake. In Starcraft 2, Tempest are one of those units. It's literally a numbers game for, unless your opponent makes a drastic mistake. You're not going to really out-micro your opponent with Tempest, unless your opponent doesn't understand the matchup, which it's reasonable that one or both of these bots do not have perfect programming when it comes to Tempest versus Tempest engagements. They're rather niche. But we do have -0 understanding this, I think, in that it is going hard on the Tempest, going to be matching the Tempest count of Sharkbot. And if -0 can get more Tempest than Sharkbot, that can be absolutely how it wins this game. We do have an upgrade lead for the air units for Sharkbot, but yeah, that's not everything, so we'll just have to wait and see. We are getting Psystorm out for Sharkbot. That's something that seems more Sharkbot specific rather than matchup specific. High Templar are very good in TVP, or pardon me, PVT, PVZ. PvP, they can be good, but definitely not as good. Now, we've got a carrier on the way for Sharkbot, which is definitely interesting. Meanwhile, -0 is building Phoenix. So transitioning away from pure Tempest, getting some Phoenix maybe to bolster up the army. We've got a nice, respectful PvP between these two. And yeah, -0 getting more Nexus. It does have a much better, well, it's got more bases. Both bots are on pretty solid economy. Sharkbot does need a 5th to start relatively soon, though, as it will be mining out of that main base, mining out of that natural. There may even be... Are these units stuck here for Sharkbot? They're kind of just chilling. But anyway, both bots are just about maxed out, so this game could very well go either way. The Phoenix for -0 could be a formidable threat. Funnily enough, Sharkbot's the one with anion pulse crystals, whereas -0 is the one with more Phoenix. There's the Phoenix getting on top of an Oracle. They do get revealed. However, those Oracles do need to be careful. They're getting way too far forward and not respecting the Phoenix, so they're getting slapped down there. Tempest, though, can begin shooting at these Phoenix as Sharkbot begins to move out. It's got such a more rounded composition than -0, but that's not necessarily what you want. I'm really not convinced that one disruptor in this composition will make the difference, as a fight could be happening right now. Psystorms are going down from Sharkbot, just on Immortals, though, which are pretty beefy units. The Tempest of -0 have been shooting away. Where's the Tempest of Sharkbot? They are actually just, or are they just grouped up? Yeah, they're grouped up super tight in there. However, the Stalkers of -0 are getting on top of this. Yeah, Sharkbot out on the map, getting pounced upon by the red Protoss. Sharkbot's retreating. It throws down a stasis ward. There's always hope while it's got its own Tempest. Both bots are building Tempest, but Sharkbot really needs to sit on top of batteries and try and whittle -0 down, make use of Defender's advantage. However, it's losing probes as they try mining between these bases. A big Zealot Warpin is going down. There's no charge on those Zealots, though, so they are not going to help out much against -0's expert kiting. It is currently 4 Tempest against 6, so -0 has the lead in that regard. And yeah, I think we're just seeing -0 plow forward, as it does seem to have a better late game plan for PvP than Sharkbot. As Sharkbot's Death Ball, again, it's very nice, but when it comes to something like Tempest versus Tempest, you just need more Tempest and basically units to buffer for them. Whereas High Templar and Disruptors it was investing into, they could have just been more Tempest. The Immortals of -0 did kind of just allow it to plow its way through. However, we do have a victor for this game. Sharkbot definitely put up a good fight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy these botcasts, make sure to go ahead, click that like button. You guys always blow it out of the water. If you want to see more Sharkbot, more -0, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, let me know too if you want me to do some videos of me playing versus the bots as well. I've done them in the past, but it's been a while since I played versus them. And yeah, very well done by -0, showing us that it's a bot that is very formidable in all stages of the game. I do think that if Sharkbot just was a little bit more... Like, Sharkbot was playing from behind this entire game, but I do think, like, if it was a little bit more focused, maybe it could have brought it back. I think fighting outside its bases when it was down on supply compared to its opponent was not ideal. It really did give -0 the opportunity to take that great fight. The angle wasn't very good, and yeah. So, very well done by the red Protoss, which is now taking all of Sharkbot's bases. -0 yearns for the Nexus. And yeah, that is going to be it for this one. GG.